Today's video is brought to you by Vinyl Moon. Vinyl Moon is the all-in-one deluxe vinyl discovery. Every month they press awesome music on beautiful colored records and send them right to your door. Join today with discount code Vinyl Eyezz to get 10% off. Alright, now today we're talking about half-speed mastering. Hey friends, welcome back. So as you might have noticed, a lot of records being produced nowadays are using a special technique called half-speed mastering. So what exactly is half-speed mastering, and more importantly, how does it compare to normal mastering? Is this just some clever marketing trick, or does the science actually hold up? Today we're going to find out. But before we do, today's song of the day is Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith. Every time I hear that track, I always think about the opening to Dazed and Confused. Such a good movie. Now, if you have a suggestion for a song of the day as well, post it in the comments down below, and you might see it in a future video. Alright, so to understand half-speed masters, we first have to define what exactly a master is. So as Johnny Rock from the Johnny Rock and Friends YouTube channel perfectly explains in his video, quote, "The master is the last step in the creative process. After all the songs have been recorded and mixed, you place them in the right order, balance the volume and tones between the songs, and finally create a finished master recording. And from that master, you can make copies." So basically, the master is the artist's finished creative work. And from that master, as I just explained, you make the digital tracks, the cassettes, the CDs, and of course, the vinyl records. So the master is basically what sets everything else into motion. Now, although the masters can be on either acetate discs or analog tapes, for the purposes of this video, since we're talking about masters for vinyl, we're only going to focus on the acetate discs, which I'll get to in a second. Alright, so now that we understand what a master is, let's look at the four main steps of the mastering process, which turns recorded music into a vinyl record. Step 1. Record and mix all of your songs either digitally on a computer or analogly on a studio tape recorder, such as the Studer A800. These are your source recordings. You can mix them, edit them, adjust their volume, and finally arrange them in the right order. Step 2. On a mastering lathe, which is basically a large cutting machine, use the cutting head to engrave the waveform of your finished mix into a lacquer disc. This disc is known as an acetate, or a dub plate, and after the cutting head is finished with it, this disc becomes the master. Step 3. Use that master disc to make metal stampers, one for each side of the record. And finally, step 4. Place the metal stampers in a record pressing machine, one on the top, one on the bottom, and then stamp the grooves into a vinyl puck, which is basically a heated ball of plastic. And that, my friends, gives us the finished vinyl record. So essentially, all the records that have ever been pressed, including all the ones in your collection, have gone through this process. Now, as a side note, there's also a newer option called direct metal mastering, which combines both step 2 and step 3 into a single stamper master combo disc, but we're not going to delve into that today because I feel like this video is already kind of complicated. So if we forget about all the other steps and just focus on step 2, the cutting of the acetate disc, that is how we get our master. So that's where this whole half-speed mastering thing comes into play. So normally, if a finished vinyl record is going to spin at 33 1/3 RPM, then the mastering lathe will also cut at 33 1/3 RPM. However, with the half-speed mastering technique, the lathe instead, as the name implies, spins at half speed, or 16 2/3 RPM. And to compensate for that, the source mix is also slowed down to half speed. So essentially, when it's all said and done, you play the record back at 33 1/3, and everything still sounds normal. Does that make sense? Now at this point, you're probably wondering, why even do this in the first place? It sounds unnecessary and complicated, so why bother? Well, as it turns out, cutting a master at half speed does have a few benefits. First of all, it's better for higher frequencies because at a slower speed, those become much easier to cut into the lacquer. So that, in turn, translates to a higher fidelity master, which is much closer to the original source recordings. Also, in addition to that, half-speed mastering produces less inner groove distortion and overall a greater dynamic response. So as you can see, it's not just some clever marketing trick, there are some real benefits. As Mark Henshaw states on yoursoundmatters.com, quote, half-speed mastering allows an experienced engineer to get the best results out of the most advanced tools on the market. Slowing the whole process down allows more time, which means the end result sounds better and is more efficient. In essence, half-speed mastering results in a superior sounding record that is both richer and fuller in the mid-low frequencies and smoother at the top end. The stereo image is hugely improved and the overall sound is focused and engaging. So basically, slow and steady wins the race. Regular masters are like the hare and half-speed masters are the tortoise. And we all know how that turned out. Now here are just a few of the records that have been half-speed mastered over the years. The Rolling Stones, the studio albums vinyl collection, 1971 through 2016. The Police, Every Move You Make, the studio recordings box set. Queen's Greatest Hits. Carole King's Tapestry. Allman Brothers Band at Fillmore East. Paul McCartney and Wings, Band on the Run, Creedence Clearwater Revival, the studio albums collection, Peter Gabriel's So, Fleetwood Mac's self-titled album, The Cars' self-titled album, Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water, Michael Jackson's Off the Wall, Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run, Barbra Streisand's Guilty, Bob Dylan's Blood on the Tracks, Luther Vandross's Never Too Much, ABBA, the album, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, Amy Winehouse's Back to Black, Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, and my personal favorite, Sade's This Far 6-album box set, which was just released this month. So stay tuned for that review because I was able to snag a copy. Now, speaking of awesome records, I'd like to show y'all one of the newest releases from today's sponsor, Vinyl Moon. So this is volume 59, and it's called Fluid Perspectives. As you can see, it's on beautiful ocean blue vinyl with a see-through center, which looks really cool. And all the artwork on this release is from Jonathan Canamar, who I think did a great job creating a sort of relaxed aquatic theme to both the covers and the inside of the gatefold. And speaking of the gatefold, they even include stickers so you can decorate it to create your very own beach scene, which is pretty neat. Now, as far as the music is concerned, that's also really good, with my favorite tracks on the record being Talisman by Philosophe, which is creative, instrumental flamenco guitar meets electronic beats, and Last by Jack Greenwood, which is stylish and indie alt-rock with a great bass line. So like I said, if you want to check out Vinyl Moon for yourself, their link will be in the video description down below. Alright, now getting back to half-speed masters, as I've said before in other videos, the sound quality of a given record isn't only dependent on whether or not a record has been half-speed mastered. There are a myriad of other factors which can affect the sound. Were they working with analog masters or digital? Did they use compression? And if so, how much compression? Did they overdo it? What was the weight of the vinyl? Was it average? 180 gram, 200 gram? What kind of vinyl pellets did they use? Was it virgin vinyl or recycled? Did they use a special compound like MoFi's super vinyl formula? Did the factory that pressed it have good quality control? Did they use the soft poly inner sleeves or paper sleeves? You see, all these factors and many more, including right down to the microphones they use to record the music, can all affect the sound quality of a finished record. So with all of that in mind, half-speed mastering is just another factor which can improve the sound. However, if a separate record was mastered normally, it's not the end of the world. Think of it like the icing on the cake. It's nice, but the other ingredients are just as important. Does that make sense? Or am I just hungry? Now, what do you think about half-speed masters? Do you have any of these in your collection? Do you go out of your way to collect them? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you love all records, no matter how they're mastered, feel free to subscribe and hit that bell notification down below so you won't miss out on the new videos. And most importantly of all, friends, have an awesome day, stay safe, and keep spinning that vinyl.